Hi everyone, Miss Karen here. Welcome back to the River of Life United Methodist Church Virtual Sunday School. I'm here with a few of my good friends here. I don't know if you have heard of the Cat in the Hat, and we've got the Grinch, got Horton, we've got Yertle the Turtle, and we've got the Lorax. There's a few more, and these guys are just battling for the screen right now. And we've been doing some reading. And do you like to read? I am a great fan, obviously, of Dr. Seuss, and I love his books, and of all the wonderful ones, besides the Cat in the Hat, of course, and we've got the Green Eggs and Ham guy here too. He just didn't get enough screen time. Of all of the ones, I think one of my favorites, it's hard to choose a favorite, is Horton the Elephant. He's such a kind and compassionate and caring character. And I think we can all learn a lot from Horton, and that's a little bit about what I want to talk with you about today. And the book that he is a part of, and I don't have it with me right now, but he's got a couple ones that he's in. And the one that I'm talking about today is Horton Hears a Who. And let me tell you just a little bit about the story in case you don't know. At the beginning of the story, Horton was splashing around in this cool jungle pool when he heard a small voice crying for help. And he looked all around, and he didn't see anybody at all. And all he saw was this tiny, tiny speck of dust floating through the air. And Horton realized after a while that there was somebody on that speck of dust who was calling out for help. And as it turned out, there was this whole town of people on that speck of dust, and they were calling out for help because they were afraid that the speck of dust would fall into the pool of water and they would all drown. And even though they were so small, Horton couldn't see them, and Horton made up his mind, even though he couldn't see them, that he was going to help them. After all, he said, a person's a person, no matter how small. So all the other animals in the jungle, they weren't these characters, but there were a lot of other animals in the jungle, and they thought he was crazy. First a kangaroo, then there were some monkeys, and finally an eagle. They all made fun of Horton for wanting to help people in need and people on a speck of dust. They thought he was kind of crazy because they couldn't see him either. And they even wanted to put him in a cage. But Horton, he still wanted to stay with them, and he still wanted to help them, even though he really couldn't see them. And even though all the other animals wouldn't help him, Horton refused to give up. And he remained faithful to the job of trying to save the tiny people who needed his help. And because of his faithfulness, the tiny people were saved. And then finally, the other animals realized at the end what Horton knew all along, that a person's a person, no matter how small. And the story of Horton reminds me a little bit of our Bible story today. So I'm going to keep Horton here, and we'll give Fox and Socks a little screen time here today. The story that I have for you today is called A Good Neighbor, because that's what Horton actually was. He was being a good neighbor to the people that were on that speck of dust there. And he helped them, and he wanted to do what he could just to be kind to them, because that's the kind of character Horton was. But the story today is called A Good Neighbor. And let me see if I can show you the pages to start us off with. And I'll read a little bit to you. I know that I should love God, a man once said to Jesus. I should love him with all my heart, and I should love my neighbor too. But who is my neighbor? He was asking Jesus, and Jesus told him this story. There was a man walking down a road, and he was going on a trip, and suddenly there were some robbers that jumped out at him for no reason at all, and they hit him, and they took the things he had with him, maybe that was the reason, and they left him hurt and lying by the side of the road. That was not a very good thing to do. And a short time later, step by step, someone came down the road. And do you think he was going to help them? Well, it was a man who worked in God's temple. So he worked in the church. And he had that opportunity to help the hurt man. But no, when he saw the hurt man, he crossed over to the other side of the road. And he passed by him. And he didn't even pay attention to him. He just walked right along and didn't even stop to help. And soon another man came too. And he passed over to the other side of the road without even asking if the man could need any help. But then along came a man on a donkey. And this was a man from a different country. And when he saw the hurt man, he stopped. And he put bandages on his hurt places, and he took the man to a house or to an inn where he could get rest and he could get well. And he gave the innkeeper, the person who was going to be there, he gave him some money so he could give him some food and, medicine and whatever things that would help him. And he said that if there wasn't enough money to cover all that, next time he came in town, he would pay him the rest. So he was really good. Even though he didn't even know this guy, he didn't know the man who was hurt, he wanted to help him because it was the right thing to do. And so Jesus told this guy the story. And when Jesus finished his story, he looked at the man and he asked him, he said, who was a neighbor to the hurt man? The guy number 1, number 2, or number 3? And the guy says, the man who helped him, the one who stopped. And then you can be a neighbor to anyone who needs your help, Jesus told the man. And just like Horton, and just like what we call the Good Samaritan, the guy who helped the man who had been robbed and hurt, who was beside the road, instead of walking around him, looking the other way, instead of going beyond him, he stopped to help him. Even though he didn't know him, he helped him anyway. And our Bible verse for today is in the New Testament, and it's from Mark 12, verses 30 through 31, and it goes something like this. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And also, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, and there's no other commandments that are greater than these. Love your God and love your neighbor. Now, there's a couple things that you can do to help your neighbor. And you know what Horton did, and you know what the Good Samaritan did, and he helped the guy beside the road. I wrote down a couple things that you could probably do. Actually, there was 10 things that I wrote down. And this is going to be your job for the week, is to be a Good Samaritan, to be a good person and do some kind of service work. I didn't put a craft in there. I didn't put any kind of activity to put in the bags this week because I would like you to be a good neighbor this week and do something good and something kind for someone else. And here's a couple things that you can do. One thing that I wrote down was about a book drive. If you have a lot of books that you no longer read anymore, you can give them to schools. You can give them to children's hospitals or community centers, homeless shelters. You can make, another thing that I've done that I think is kind of cool, is you can make cards for soldiers or veterans and telling them how much you appreciate them and the service they've given for our country. Dogs and cats. Lots of people like to help dogs and cats. There are a lot of animal shelters and rescue groups that need help, and you can donate towels and blankets and pet food, money donations. Maybe you can have a lemonade stand, and with the money that you earn, it could give to one of these animal shelters. Who Haven is a place that's in Illinois, and they help wild animals, like some of the birds. They might have eagles, they have hawks, sometimes foxes, possums, any injured animals that need a little bit of help and a little bit of healing. This place helps them and lets them go back into the wild again. So they need lots of help too. That's called Who Haven. One thing that I thought was really cool was birthday boxes. I was reading about this family who gave these boxes that they decorated. Their kids got to put stickers on them. You could paint them. You could color them with markers. And inside that box, there was a cake mix, frosting, there were candles, and maybe a couple toys for somebody who might be in need of a birthday cake. Maybe they didn't have enough money to buy a birthday cake, and you can give these to food pantries, as well as other canned goods that you might want to give as well. Another thing, you can recycle. Collect all those cans. Maybe you drink a lot of soda, a lot of pop. You can collect your cans and the money, and you can turn these cans into a recycling place, and they can give you money, and you can donate this to one of your favorite charities or a place that really could use some money. You can spend time. Another thing that's kind of cool is you can go to nursing homes. I don't know if you can do that really right now, but when COVID is over, one place you can do is you can go to nursing homes. A lot of the older people don't have families, so you can go there, maybe play bingo with them, do a craft activity, go caroling around Christmas. Or else maybe you can even do a pen pal, find a pen pal from there and write them letters, and they can tell you about their life. You can tell them about your life. So those type of things. Oh, stuffed animals. A lot of us have a lot of stuffed animals that you're ready to part with. Maybe not the Dr. Seuss ones, but other stuffed animals that you never play with anymore. Or you could get some new ones, because there are a lot of kids in some of the children's hospitals who could really need something to hug. Or sometimes when firefighters go to help people who lose their homes in a fire or to put out fires, there might be some scared kids. And so they would love to hold on to a stuffed animal to help them not be so scared anymore. Another thing that you could do is you can write a card to someone in our congregation, some people who don't get out too much. There's lots of names on the church directory, or else I could give your parents some names that you could write to. They love cards. And then you can just do, one of my last things on the list is just random acts of kindness. You can smile to someone. You can hold the door open for them. Maybe you might want to buy their meal if you go through the McDonald's the drive-through. You can pay for the person behind you. You can return a cart to the cart corral. You can make a flower or pick some flowers for your teacher and take it in. One of the things that I thought was really cool is when you walk, if you go for a walk, there are a lot of people who do chalk driveways. So they decorate all these fun messages and make hearts and flowers and things like that. So when people walk by their house on their blacktop or on their driveway, you can see all these beautiful pieces of artwork. You can also clean your room without being asked. You can help make supper. You can help someone else clean up. There are lots of things. You can donate some of your toys for some people who don't have any. There's so many things that you can do to be like the Good Samaritan in Jesus' time, or like Horton, who cared for somebody he had not even met. So that's your challenge for this week. And let me know what you decide to do. Be a friend, be a neighbor, do something good, do some service work for someone else this week and make them feel good and bring a smile to someone else's face and to their life. That's a good thing to do. Can you pray with me? Dear God, thank you for bringing us here today. Thank you for friends. Thank you for families. And thank you for blessing us with so many wonderful things in our lives. And please help us to maybe return the favor to somebody else. Help us to do good and help us to help someone who needs it a little bit more than we do. Amen. Good to have you here with us. Let me know what your service project is that you're working on and ways that you can help somebody else. And we have one more Sunday school message, and that will be next Sunday with Mrs. Bowler and me. And we would like to try a Zoom session. So contact me, and so we can give you the Zoom link, and then we will talk with you and see you in person. You can see us in person. We can talk to each other. And I'll see you next week. Just let me know if you can Zoom. We'll be there to see ya. Have a good week. Bye-bye.